The new hot take that's out there right now is this great lock-in of 2025, which apparently runs from September 1st until December 31st. In a lot of these videos that are out there right now about the great lock-in of 2025, people are speaking on their fitness goals, their content creator goals, their career goals, their wellness goals, everything from discipline on down the line. You have probably heard it in one of these videos. Just hearing somebody say the great lock-in, it just sounds like it's powerful and captivating, like, oh my gosh, I am really about to change my life. But here is my question: what is making this any different? What makes this any different from someone who is maybe just doing a fall reset? What makes it any different from someone who uses maybe a quarterly goal method of planning? What makes it any different from someone who uses the 12-week year approach? Now, let me stop right here, because I know somebody's going to be like, well, why are you shooting down this idea? It's supposed to be encouraging. It's supposed to be motivating you to reach goals in your life. I am not discrediting the method. I am simply a woman who is tired of falling for all of the newest and latest trends that hit the streets every other day. I'm simply trying to figure out whether this is in fact a powerful strategy for someone to gain discipline in their life, or is this just another pretty piece of propaganda that keeps us buying into the next new idea that's out there across social media? Because here's the truth about it: we're always being sold on something. It may not always be a physical product. It may not always be a digital product. It may not always even be an aesthetic, that you're being sold on an aesthetic or a lifestyle. I can guarantee you though that 95% of the time, if not more, you're being sold on an idea. In today's video, let's go ahead and weigh out the pros and cons. We have to go ahead and make that master list of weighing out the pros and cons so that we can actually get a clear understanding of whether we are going to gain discipline through this great lock-in method, or are we dodging another trendy distraction that's out there? The growth angle, the propaganda angle, validation, involvement, and cost. I feel like these 4 areas will help us make a sound decision by the end of this video on whether or not we want to use that great lock-in method, or if there is in fact a different method that works better. And remember, this is not a collective decision, okay? Whatever works for you is going to be what works best for you. The Great Lock-In of 2025 is a method intended for you to get locked in. It is literally in the name. It is there to encourage you and motivate you to get back on your routines, get your habits in order, get focused on building productivity back into your life. So it is only fair that I start with looking at this from the growth angle, because at the end of the day, you can gain some great benefits by using this approach. I do think it's pretty nice that you have that time frame right off the bat. So it tells us that we're going from September 1st to December 31st. And we know that we have to stay locked in for this time period. That's no different from some of us who have completed, well, I cannot say some of us, some of you all who have completed the 75 hard challenge. You want to stay locked in for those 75 days. So you push yourself for each one of those days to say, okay, I can do this for this period of time. So what happens is you're creating a season of focus for that dedicated time frame from September to December. You're in a season of focus during that time. And this is a powerful growth tool for you to hit your goals. I do believe that season of focus kind of encourages a little more sacrifice as well, because you know that you're only going to be dedicated for this set amount of time. So you're willing to sacrifice for that period of time, maybe even sacrifice without hesitation, whereas before you may not have been so quick to sacrifice. And that can be beneficial as well, because it is going to encourage you to say, hey, okay, you have these goals and you have this time period. Do whatever you need to do to hit it. I'm sure every single one of us can think back to a time where we wanted something so badly, so desperately, and every single distraction that you can think of popped up, but we were so focused and willing to sacrifice everything to get that one particular thing. Now, my personal favorite, and the thing that I feel like you're going to benefit most from in using this great lock-in method, is definitely your self-awareness. Now, what I mentioned about time frames was, if you have a specific period of time and you know you have to lock in, you're willing to sacrifice. Well, in that season, you're going to gain that heightened sense of self-awareness, because if you're telling yourself, well, I have 6 months, or I have 90 days, I have 30 days, I have 75 days, you're going to make a commitment to yourself to stay locked in on each of those days. Do you know how hard it is to cold turkey give up every single thing that you enjoy? You give up the food, you give up hanging out, you give up, doing whatever you do in your free time. It takes a serious commitment. So you do have to have the self-awareness has to be through the roof during this time. You have to be aware of how you're feeling emotionally, physically, mentally, because you are going to be going through a lot of changes during that time, especially if you're making any kind of changes in your wellness and you're changing up the things that you eat. That's like a detoxification process. So you're going to have to be aware of, okay, how am I feeling? What can I do? Do I need more water? Do I need to rest? Do I need to meditate to get me through these moments where I'm feeling hungry? That's probably the best benefit. Is just that self-awareness is going to be through the roof. Of course, then there's the added bonus of maybe you actually hit your goals a little bit faster. Each and every one of us would love that, because let's be honest, some of us are walking around here who have been trying to lose 15 pounds for the last 2-3 years and couldn't get it off. And then we lock in for this great lock-in from September to December, and we finally get it off. We feel accomplished. Anytime you hit a goal, it makes you feel accomplished. It makes you feel successful, and it encourages you to keep going. Like, okay, well, if I can do this for a certain amount of time, I definitely can continue on this path. Right now, the Great Lock-In Method is a collective movement, and we know it's a collective movement because we are seeing it all across social media. So it does create a sense of community where you can get on there and you can look at other people's videos and say, okay, I know I'm not the only one going through this. And sometimes that gives you just a little bit of peace within itself, is to know that you're not doing it alone. So maybe you have a community on your social media where you have other people who are engaging in this Great Lock-In as well. Or maybe you have friends and family who are like, you know what, I'm going to participate in the Great Lock-In, and we can hold each other accountable. Some people need that accountability partner. Now, honestly, for myself, I don't like accountability partners anymore. I like the fact that I can just rely on myself. I can hold myself accountable. For some, having that accountability partner is everything. Some people need that extra push for someone to call them and say, hey, did you do so-and-so? Okay, let's get encouraged. Let's keep going. Some people need that extra push. If you are actually dedicated, 100% committed to your Great Lock-In, this is going to be an excellent, excellent time for you to get de-influenced. I don't think there's any shame at all in admitting that we've been overly influenced. I know for a fact I have been overly influenced in many, many, many areas of my life. So this is a perfect time where you can say, you know what, if I'm going to lock in and I'm going to get back my sense of self, and I'm going to create all this self-awareness, and I'm going to get disciplined, and I'm going to focus on me and the happiness in my life, then yes, we have to admit those areas where we've been overly influenced, and we have to de-influence ourselves so we can get back our lives and reclaim all of our power. Have you ever taken a break from social media, whether it be a couple of weeks, maybe you took a month off, and you found that during that time you felt so free? You didn't feel like you were comparing yourself anymore. You didn't have the urge to scroll. You actually found things to do with your time. Maybe you picked up a new hobby. You found much more happiness in your life. Maybe you thought being the pink Pilates princess was your thing, but then after a while, come to find out, you're like, you know what? I don't even like Pilates. I want to do a HIIT training or something. All I know is that we take on a lot of what we see because we think it's pretty, especially the aesthetics. The aesthetics can really sell you. Like I said earlier, we're always being sold on an idea. But when you do de-influence yourself and you realize that, okay, I want to do the things that I actually enjoy, you stop comparing yourself and you stop the need to feel like you have to fit in with the crowd. You gain the discipline, you gain the self-awareness, you gain all of these great benefits with the Great Lock-In of 2025 if you are 100% locked in. So let's look at the propaganda angle now, because some of us might not be so locked in, and some of us might just have been sold on the pretty idea. There's nothing new. A lot of what we see on social media are timeless practices that have simply been repackaged. There's been so many names I can't even count, but I'll put it like this. Anything that has to do with a reset, anything that has to do with productivity hacks, anything that has to do with gaining more discipline or hitting goals, setting goals, anything of that nature, it's repackaged. It has been talked about, it's been done, and all we have are these recycled ideas with pretty new names on them. It's like fried chicken, okay? Because we know we got KFC, we got Popeyes, we got Church's, you got Bojangles, you got Zaxby's, and all the other chicken places that you can think of. The presentation is changed, the seasoning is changed, the packaging is changed, but at the end of the day, it's all fried chicken. So there is nothing different when it comes to these discipline, goal setting, productivity hack approaches. They are all the same idea. 12-week year for that matter. All the same idea, just a different name and a slightly different approach, but you're going to focus on the same things. I have to give kudos where kudos is due. I have to give it up for the innovators who come up with these trendy names, because that's the whole job of an innovator, right? You take something old, or you take something that's already been there, and you try to make that idea new by giving it a fresh approach, a fresh name, or figuring out a way to make it better. The great lock-in of 2025 is, like I said at the beginning of the video, this sounds like a revolutionary movement, right? The name, it might sound powerful, but again, it's talking about the same things that a lot of these other different approaches have been talking about for years and years. I don't think we should lie to ourselves. This is not something new. It's just something that has a new label placed on it. Now, keeping in mind that I said you have to be 100% committed, you have to be 100% locked in. I placed an emphasis on that specifically because if you are not locked in and you are doing this with any other reasoning on your mind outside of just for your own personal benefit, it becomes another curated identity that you perform online. Yes, it ends up being another lifestyle aesthetic trap. Instead of focusing on the change within yourself and really hyper focusing on your day-to-day habits, it's used as a way to create content and generate eyes and views and engagement on your social media pages. Think about the disciplined girl aesthetic. We don't know if that same discipline carries into her personal life outside of when the camera is on. We don't know that. But all we know is what? When we see that disciplined content, it makes us feel like, oh my gosh, I really need to get it together. The girl in the glow up season, she makes the glow up content and people come to her for her glow up content. But is she really adapting that as her way of life? Is she really about setting those same levels and standards that she says online outside of that? I'm not saying that every single person is going to do this. That is not the case. But when you are not locked in, when you are not 100% focused, and you are not 100% committed to the internal change, you can find yourself falling into this trap of, oh, well, I'm gonna post this content about my discipline and about this great lock-in that I'm doing, and you end up doing it for the benefit of the views and the engagement rather than the benefit of actually changing your life. The goal is to completely immerse yourself in that lock-in season, right? But if we're constantly picking up our camera and constantly needing to discuss and talk about and film every single thing that we're doing, is it more for the show and the performance of making sure that the content is there? Or are we actually locked in and focused and immersed in our own growth and personal development journey? Now, there is one trend that I absolutely enjoyed. It was a couple of months ago, and it was the propaganda I'm not falling for. I loved that trend because people were speaking up about the things that they just simply were not falling for anymore. It was an eye-opener, honestly. Like, you really got the sense that people were waking up and they were tired. People were tired of over consuming content. They were tired of over consuming and spending beyond their means. They were tired of the empty promises, and they really were waking up and saying, you know what, my life is great as it is. I don't have to spend. I don't have to have the newest car. I don't have to have the best apartment, but my life is good and I am thankful for it. There is a higher desire for true substance now, which I actually thoroughly love. People are not being sold on the froth and the frills anymore. They just not. They want to get on social media and they want to be fed. They want to be fueled in a way that is going to help them thrive in their own personal lives. And here's the thing, pretty propaganda is captivating, okay? It makes you want to buy into the idea. So my biggest advice to you is just don't find yourself wide open to accept any old idea. And then there's the dopamine trap, of course. You don't have self-awareness and you're not really locked in and in tune with yourself. It's almost like you get this need to get your boost from announcing the things that you're doing in your life. So for one who has fallen into the pretty propaganda and they're like, well, I want to take this great lock-in method and I want to announce to the world that I'm doing it. Okay, well then you find yourself posting saying, yes, I'm in my lock-in period. I'm doing the great lock-in. These are the things that I'm working on. Again, this is not everybody, and this is not saying that the videos that I have seen that this is what those folks were doing. I'm not saying that at all, but I am pointing out that when you are not fully locked in and you are not in tune with yourself, sometimes you do have this burning desire to get that approval and you get that dopamine spike from announcing what you're doing in your life. That social validation that you receive after making your announcement, it replaces the need for that personal fulfillment that you really actually want to gain. I said this earlier and I'm going to say it one more time. Do not find yourself wide open to every single idea that comes across your feed, because here's the thing, it will keep you in a cycle of constantly feeling like you need to reset, feeling like you constantly need to have a lock-in season, or chasing the fresh start, when really and truly it's about building sustainable habits that you can keep over time, not a time period, but over time. Now, there's just a couple of key things that I want to touch on when we think about the validation involvement. And I feel like the easiest way to look at this is to think about how social media rewards discipline. Think about the before and after pictures that maybe you've come across. Maybe you've seen someone who has lost a significant amount of weight and you see their before and after photos or videos, or you're looking at someone who always posts about their morning routines or any type of routine that they're doing as they are trying to gain more discipline or goals, anything of that nature. The encouragement, the positive affirmations, all of it is a beautiful thing, but here is a fine line that we always seem to cross. And I am not pointing any fingers. I have crossed this line myself. Comments, the applause, the likes, it starts to take over. And then we sometimes find ourselves doing what we started in the beginning as a way to gain more discipline and all of that, hit our personal goals. But then it starts to shift a little bit. We're getting that applause. We're getting the comments that are saying, oh my gosh, how did you do it? I want to look like you. Can you give me pointers? Can you show me your routines? And again, it starts to become a performance. So now we're losing our connection and in that in tune feeling that you had before with yourself. You're starting to lose that. And what is coming in place of that is validation and wanting to get that applause from the audience. So then, of course, what happens after that? You start measuring your growth not by how you feel. That goes out the window. And you start measuring your growth by how the version of you locking in compares to how other people lock in. Because again, now you're shifting away from doing it for yourself and you're doing it for that applause. So you want that applause and that attention to stay on you. And then of course, comparison starts settling in right on top. But now you're under this immense amount of pressure to do everything better than your opponent. If you couldn't document your great lock-in of 2025, would you still commit to it with the same amount of intensity? If you cannot honestly, and I mean honestly, answer that question with a 100% yes, then you need to ask yourself, where is your motivation coming from? Because your motivation may be stemming from the need to be validated about your progress in life. A woman who is truly confident and a woman who is self-empowered never has the need to announce anything that she's doing in her life. Owning your progress in silence is so powerful. Like, as a woman, do you not understand that that is a secret weapon when you know in your heart of heart that everything that you do is for yourself? That growth is held for you and you alone. You don't want to share it. You don't want anybody to taint anything, any of the progress that you've done. Put it like that. You don't want that to be tainted. You don't want it to be tampered with. So you hold that to yourself. When you have that type of mentality, you don't crumble when the applause is missing. It doesn't even faze you at that moment because you're like, I don't need the validation. I don't need the applause. I don't need the likes. I don't need the comments. I did this for me and me alone. And I can go to bed at night knowing that I did everything in my power to grow myself beyond where I was. Now, before you make your decision on whether or not the great lock-in of 2025 is going to be your method of madness, let's go ahead and talk about the cost. Specifically, some things that you may trade in without realizing. There is the risk of losing your individuality because you're going to risk blending in rather than standing out and creating your own personal growth strategy or really adopting a method that works better for you. The last thing we want to do is start looking and acting and structuring our lives just like everybody else because we want to be able to use the same hashtag. Authentic discipline comes from you setting your own personal values, and it also comes from you respecting your own personal timeline. Not the viral timelines that are going on, but respecting the fact that your timeline looks a whole lot differently from everybody else's. There's the added potential of financial costs because that lock-in becomes marketable. And maybe you are somebody who is easily influenced. Like I said, it comes down to being 100% committed and 100% in tune. And if you are not, you do have that ability to still become influenced. And if you're influenced, sometimes you do accept those ideas that, oh, well, maybe I need the newest thing to help me achieve this. So then you start spending money on new skincare, new journals, new planners, new workout outfits, new pre-workout drinks. Let's be honest, there are some people who feel like they have to go out and buy all of those items so that they can do that method the right way, but it has nothing to do with that at all. So now you're tying your personal growth into spending, or you're creating a new bill when it doesn't have to be about that. There's the emotional and mental cost. Constant resets equal mental fatigue. And trust me, I have been there. I know it. Easy way to burn out, because you're trying to perform the discipline rather than actually living discipline. And then later on, you get that shame or you get that guilt because you're trying to keep up with the pace of the trend and keep up with what everyone else is doing. But then you can't keep up, you're burned out, and now you're back in that cycle of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm behind and I need to lock in again, or I need to reset. So it's like I said earlier, you're constantly in this vicious cycle when you should never have to always feel like you have to reset all over again, or feel like you have to get a fresh start all over again. You should be able to just be like, you know what, I acknowledge that this maybe was a bad day, bad moment, but I'm gonna continue to keep going. And then there is the cost of time. If we are constantly trend chasing and we're trying to find all these new methods that work, we're only focused on the short term rather than trying to build a system for ourselves that allows us to actually gain habits, productivity, all of the things that we desperately want. We need to gain a system, or build a system to where we can invest into that on the daily, on the yearly, and actually keep a consistent way of living. We shouldn't have to always go back and revert to what's the newest, greatest trend that I can try. I've personally done it. I've tried the trends, and each time I find myself further, behind where I was. A balanced woman will always come out like the tortoise in the race. She will win. She will be the one who can outstand everyone, and that is because a balanced woman knows that she is not perfect. She gives herself permission to live in the good moments and the moments that are not so good. She embraces the mistakes, she learns, and she keeps on moving. She does not feel the need to have to constantly restart or constantly lock in or constantly gain whatever other methods are out there. She just lives and she learns and she keeps going. Honestly, when you think about it, discipline that doesn't leave room for mistakes, that's control. That's not growth. We've weighed the pros and cons. We have looked at the good, bad, and the ugly of the great lock-in of 2025 from September 1st to December 31st. Now, with everything that we have talked about in today's video, will you be using the great lock-in method? As for me, I am not going to share this information with you, and the reason being is because I never want my personal opinions on a topic to ever persuade you to do or not do in your own personal life. If you are here at this point in the video, I am sure that you can make a very sound decision on whether or not you feel like this method is going to help you in your personal life or not. My biggest suggestion, and this is the only thing that I will say and I encourage you to listen to, is to find a method that works for you and you alone. If this is a method that works for you, adopt it and fully immerse yourself into it. If this is not, and you don't like the time frame, or maybe this is just not the right season for you to do it, find something that is going to give you sustainable growth, long-term growth that you can have for the rest of your life, not just for a set period of time. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Comment down below, tell me what you think, and I'm just so happy to be back. Oh my God, I have not posted a video since June 20th, and if you guys knew how long it took me to film this video, oh my gosh, I'm a little bit rusty, but I am so glad to be back. I have a lot of great videos lined up, some changes coming, so yeah, I hope you guys stick around. But until next time, my loves, bye.